Mary-Claire, you're a strategist. What would you say is the real way of linking through all this stuff to sales and return?
I'd say that we can say that we have a social economy in a way. So we're not only going to be interested in money in the bank, we're also going to be interested in another kind of currency, which is a social currency. And if you have, an awful lot of people who love your brand, that's important in itself. So that will eventually lead to many more things. But money in the bank is an end result, and I think that the things that things like BuzzMetrics and other tools like that, and this kind of data will show you, where your people are basically, and that's really, really important right now. And I think companies need to start looking at that as a type of currency as well as, the money in the bank. So there's a whole education to build around there.
Andrew?
I think that also it lets people identify specific areas of the business that require investment. For example, if consumers are complaining about hold times or about the support services that a business offers, you're able to identify almost immediately and trend trouble or problematic posts over the period of time. Some of the recent information that I've seen regarding kind of storm damage in the insurance industry. I think it was mentioned at AdTech by Magda from Real Insurance, saying that they were able to be proactive, and monitoring that sentiment immediately gives them the opportunity to create a reactive process within the business. And sentiment is the only thing that will actually enable you to do that. You can't surmise that somebody's going to consider or act one way or the other.
Yep. So, in a nutshell, we're saying that there is ways to link it through to sales one way or another. We're saying that it does have value from a business intelligence point of view, and that it has value from a brand value point of view. If you had to sum up in a not too lengthy way, what is the core reason why people should be doing this? The real why behind measurement and metrics?
What you don't measure, you can't make money on, basically. It's that simple. You put a website up, you make it work, but your client every month gets a report, and in that report there's some numbers, and that's where the metrics come in. Really what you're doing is setting up a website for the people who use it, and to your client you're selling these reports every month. If you can't trust the numbers in there, then I think that you're not going to make any money yourself. So, makes sense.
Excellent. Andrew?
Basically, it's the justification of investment in each specific marketing channel, and without that justification, which at the moment isn't being backed up by numbers and facts, it's very much kind of finger in the air for a lot of people, and that's unacceptable from a client's perspective. And we need to be offering a much better service, from everybody's point of view. Mitch?
I think Andrew's dead right. I think that if you don't really understand your channels and the way they return to you, then there's no point in really even opening up shop. The same way we measure everything inside our business, how many calls our sales guys make, how often our servers go down. We really need to know where our money's going and how our online spend is going. And as brands are being told more and more to go out and start up Facebook pages and Twitter profiles, if you don't understand what the return on that is, what's the point? At the end of the day, you're going to end up with a whole lot of work, and you don't necessarily know what you've gotten for it.
All right, guys. Well, what would you say? In the world of search, in the world of display advertising, everyone knows the same metrics. It's cost per click, cost per thousand. People understand the cost per acquisition. What would you say are the most important things to measure, concrete things to measure in the social space? What's going to emerge as the key metrics from the social space?
I think that the opportunity to segment your visitors and your customers, and start to attribute value to niche markets so that you can reinvest in offering a more attractive proposition to those consumers so that you can service them better. And analytics from a search perspective currently offers that, and it's completely lacking in almost all social media channels. If it is there, it's woolly. It doesn't give you fact. It gives you a general idea of the state of a campaign.
But I mean, in terms of hard metric, like what is it that at the end of the day we should, if all the tools were perfect and all the processes were perfect, what are we measuring? Reach, influences, what are we measuring? What should we be measuring?
I'm still a stickler for actual profit and actually generating a return on the marketing investment, because that's essentially the basis of everything that I do from a search perspective. And I think that all other traditional channels try to apply those kind of methods, not very well, but there are attempts being made to rectify that with the launch of Move and channels like that.
Move is an outdoor advertising metric for those of you who haven't heard of that before. Marie-Claire?
Well, I agree with all of that, and I'd also add things like, I'm hoping to see more data mining skills come into play in all our analytics teams, and see companies actually start hiring data miners and people with those skills that can actually take, the incomplete, messy data that we can actually pull out and create, predictive analysis for us as well, so that we can say, well, if we continue doing what we do in 2 years' time, this is what's going to happen.
And do you think those skill sets are currently missing?
Yeah, I think they are. I think that it was premature a couple of years ago, and there's sort of been this transition period where I can see them coming in now. And I think that in the next 2 years they'll be really, really important, because you really need those specialist data skills now, that don't belong maybe to the SEO or to the social media expert either, that really do run within data mining instead.
Mitch, hard metrics, what is it?
I think if everything was perfect, if we had all of the right measurements and all the right tools in place, I think it'd come down heavily to network analysis. So the idea of understanding how a consumer travels the path. It's something that often gets spoken about a lot in marketing, and I think that it can be, it's not currently, it's kind of a bit of a pipe dream at the moment, but I think that it can be measured online, actually understanding where a customer enters the journey of purchase and actually buys. And I think that if we can develop tools that can measure that full cycle of network analysis of how they heard about things, from which person did they get past this particular piece of information, which were the 10 influencers that promoted that link and then therefore resulted in the purchase. I think if we could really analyse those networks and the way people travel that journey, I think that would probably be the best metric we could hope to have.
So we're saying that these tools, to get to this perfect point, we're going to need data miners, we're going to need psychologists, we're going to need linguistic specialists, and some really damn good programmers to put it all together. Now that's going to have some pretty decent costs associated with all that coming together. So what's the benefit of brands and companies and agencies jumping into social media metrics now versus waiting for the tools to get to the right point? Why do it now?
I think that the most important thing that I've experienced from a search perspective is that we have now got 10 years. In fact, we've got more than 10 years. We've got near enough 14 years worth of data. Now, I would say that that's only useful for trending, and only the last 12 months worth of data is actually worth any value to businesses. But if we're starting to collect data and trying to analyse it as best we can at the moment, at least in the future we have an opportunity to go back and to analyse our activities and say, this is what worked, this is what didn't work. Let's revisit that data when we can in the future, and do as well as we can with the tools that we've got at the moment.